Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to give you a little reflection for the weekend. And this weekend's gospel is a continuation of last week. Between last week and this week, we have in chapter 6 of St. Luke, we have what we call the Sermon on the Plain. Sermon on the Plain is Luke's version of the sermon. In Matthew, you have the Sermon on the Mount, and they're basically saying the same thing. The Sermon on the Mount tends to be a little bit more longer, and because it covers two chapters, chapter 5 to 7 of Matthew. The sermon in Mark is just 20, or in Luke is just 29 verses altogether, so it's a little bit more tidy and compact than the one in Matthew's Gospel. And basically, in general, you could say the sermon on the plain, like the Sermon on the Mount, it's really the call to perfection. It's it's a blueprint for action, a blueprint for how you live out the call to be a disciple. And it's good stuff. Obviously, it's all of us. None of us are called to mediocrity. We're always called to do better. And when you look at the Sermon on the Plain, I think it tells you what the things that you should be doing. And perhaps the first one, even though it occurs almost toward the end, it's the one about seeing the splinter, seeing the splinter in somebody else's eye, whereas. Or seeing the beam in somebody else's eye and merely seeing the splinter in your own eye. And really, it's a reminder that we need to do the opposite. We need to really examine ourselves. That what is it in my life that's in a sense pulling me down, or what is it in my life that's separating me from other people. So rather than sort of say, like when you point a finger at somebody else, there are three of them pointing back at yourself. So self-examination on all occasions must come first. But before anything else, I think before you do anything else, you need to do that, because I think the call is I think is mentioned about towards the end of the gospel reading about being sort of a good fruit, and we're all called to be good fruit. And in order to be good fruit, first of all, self-examination is I think very important. And so we keep that in mind. And then, of course, it starts last week reminding us about it's not just enough to love those who love you, but we're called to love our enemies, and how difficult that is. And along with the call to love your enemies, the call to forgive, which is very, very close to it. And forgiveness from the head, sometimes it's easy enough, but forgiveness from the heart, where you really let go, is so challenging. But that's what we're invited to do on an ongoing basis. And also, again, the whole question of which we tend to do a lot of, that is to judging other people. And we sometimes we judge people for a variety of different reasons, and so often our judgment it's a sort of a qualified judgment, where we tend to look at other people and see their faults rather than their good points. So again, judgment is an area, and all those areas, I think, in order to grow in our faith, I think you need to have the whole question of surrender, the whole question of dying to yourself, so that other people can live. So I think that's really at the very heart of being a disciple, that the needs of the other, and also the fact that we always give other people the doubt. It doesn't mean, I think, on any occasion, it doesn't mean that we have to become like doormats, where people are sort of wiping their feet on us. That's not necessarily what we're called to, but we are called to, in a sense, to the extent that we see the dignity in each and every person, that we respect that dignity, and that we deal with them accordingly. So I think it's overall it's good stuff. And So that's the invitation, especially during this time of year. We're just about to move into the Lenten season in 2 weeks. So perhaps as you prepare to celebrate Lent this year, it's not just a question of giving up something, some kinds of food that you love. I mean, that's one thing you can do, but I think what's even more important, that as a Christian, what's more important is that you sort of give up the stuff that, in a sense, whereby you tend to build yourself up and put other people down, or you tend to make yourself look important. And as you make yourself look important, then you tend to, in a sense, trash other people up. So again, an invitation to dignity, to respect, treat other people with the utmost respect, and treat other person, of course, as the Scripture says, as they would hope that they treat you. So we'll leave it at that for the moment, and I just wish that during the Lenten season, that it's an opportunity for you to grow in your faith, grow in your prayer life, but most especially grow in how you deal with one another. Thank you.